he is. Good one. Oh, stay hooked up. Oh. Come on. Oh, you. Nice. That's a limit. That's a limit, boys and girls. That is a limit. Right there. Number 5. What's going on, everybody? Miles Burghoff here, FLW Pro Circuit Angler, and I want to share with you one of my favorite techniques, and anybody that fishes this technique really loves it too, and that is fishing a hull body frog like this Z-Man Leapfrogs. All right, so when most people think about fishing a hull body frog, they think of thick, dense grass mats, especially the ones that have that cheese on the surface, which is essentially algae that's just covering the surface of that matted out vegetation. But a frog is really, really good for fishing open water situations and very isolated, thin cover like we have here. We still have some grass that comes to the surface, but it's really, really thin. It's not a very dense canopy. And this is a really good situation. But one thing that I like to do with the frog that's different than fishing heavy, dense grass mats is I like to work the bait so it has a walking action. So I'm just imparting a walking side-to-side action using the rod tip and a little bit of slack in the line. I'm essentially just making very short little pops and slapping some slack out of that line, and that allows that bait to go side to side. And in the process, while I'm making those little movements with my rod tip, I'm reeling in just slightly, just a quarter turn each time, just so I have a little bit of slack still in the line, but I'm still imparting that action and making it walk side to side. Probably the most important aspect of this bait and this technique where you're walking it in open water is the speed at which you work it. Recently at the FLW Pro Circuit event on Chickamauga, I was moving it very, very quickly, just like this. And the reason I was doing that is because the fish were highly pressured, and I wanted that bait to be moving out of their strike zone very quickly, so they'd have to react to it. And so in situations where they're highly pressured, you got clear water and very, very active fish, that's when I'm gonna be using a very, very fast walking action. One thing I'm always looking for is these little isolated patches of cover, whether it's vegetation or something else. You've got all this dense cover over here, and then all of a sudden you got one little isolated patch. Man, those are some hot spots for catching bass. So the tackle when walking a frog in open water is very, very important. Just like fishing a frog on matted vegetation, I like to use braided line 100% of the time. I like to use 50-pound braided line for open water frogging. I use a Seaguar Smackdown braid. There's no stretch. It allows you to really work that bait correctly, and just overall braid gets those fish in the boat. And then I like to use a high-speed gear ratio reel. This right here is an 8.1 to 1 gear ratio. This is a Fitzgerald VLD10 reel. I love this reel because I can make a long cast, work through the strike zone, and then bring it back to the boat quickly and make another presentation. And you really want a high-speed gear ratio reel for that. And then as far as the rod that I'm using, I like to use a lighter rod than I would if I was fishing grass mats. In open water, you don't need a big, broomstick. I like a 7.3 medium heavy action. This is a Stunner HD from Fitzgerald. This rod has a nice soft tip, which allows me to make precise casts and long casts, and it also allows me to work this bait correctly and give it a lot of action, but it still has plenty of backbone to be able to pull those fish away from light cover and get them in the boat. So that is my setup for walking the frog in open water. It's a great technique. It catches a lot of fish, and the frog is a lot more versatile than you think it is. It's a really, really good bait to use in a lot of different situations. So give this a shot. I know you're gonna catch more fish. I'll see you guys out on the water.